good morning, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha. Good morning.
Good morning.
Coming to you from Southern Connecticut. My name, though, is Lori Monaco. So, how about that? And I am a chiropractor. I am what am I? A teacher, speaker, coach. I specialize in mindfulness practice and transformation and authentic self. I am a soon to be published author, very excited about that. And I'm a wellness expert. Oh, it sounds good. I'll stick with it. Why not? I've been studying for that for years. Paid a lot of money for that degree. So, hey, good morning. And I'm loving the blue gladiator guru. Look at you.
Thank you.
So,
well, good morning, mi gente. I am La Margarita, your gladiator guru. I am your sacred healer, your spiritual and creative healing life coach, your end-of-life doula. I am your author, writer, artist. I am your wedding officiant, specializing in hand fasting ceremonies, which is very exciting. I am your notary, and I am magically orgasmic. So, good morning, and thank you for being on with us this morning, Tiffany, Brian, Chanel, Real Deal, and my beautiful son-in-law, Argenis. Buenos dias. Good morning. Namaste.
Good morning, everyone. So happy that you're here. So, Gladiator Guru, how are you enjoying being in the Northeast? The weather has been fabulous. A little cold, like today, overnight was cold, but it's still beautiful, though.
Oh, I'm loving it. The moon last night was phenomenal.
Yes.
Captured it and put it on my Instagram at around 2 a.m. Because, of course, my sleeping pattern went out the freaking window, Erica Balahala. Yes, it has. And, but it's beautiful to sleep. It's beautiful to be all covered up and sleeping, and then you take your blankets off, and it's like that chill.
Yep.
You know, it's any kind of excitement since I'm celibate, any kind of that intimate rush gives me like a woohoo. So I play with my blanket, take it off, put it on, take it off.
Oh my God.
That's my latest excitement for myself. So hey, if I can't please me, who the hell's gonna please me correctly, right?
Well, listen, I'm glad you can find the joy out of the cool crisp air.
Yes.
Magically orgasmic joy. So fabulous, So now combine your two. You have to, when it's cool and crisp out there, you need to also sit out there with your cup of coffee. So it's like a double orgasm for you.
What?
It's the coffee and it's the cool, crisp air.
But I do. I sit out back with the birds in the morning. But I dreamt last night that I woke up at 8:20 and I was like, oh my God, I missed the show. And so I kept waking up. So it was an awful night. But yes, what's in your cup?
Oh, it's the unleaded. I'm still drinking that. I have the last bit though. I am going to go out and get coffee today. I'm going to mix it up a little bit and see what's out there. And, I love just trying like so many different mixes. And I especially love going to TJ Maxx. They have such like diverse types of coffee, brands that you never hear of and so on and so forth. So that's what I was going to do later today. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now. How about you?
Café La Llave. I made it too heavy, so it's a bit bitter black. But here we go. Good morning, Iritza.
Iritza. Anything? Is it just black, or did you have some monk fruit in it?
No, that's why it's bitter. I have to go and get some monk fruit today.
I just got some in, and you're more than welcome. You can borrow a cup of sugar from me.
I love the packets, though.
Oh yeah, it's just easier that way. Yeah,
it is.
And you can take it to go, which is nice because nobody has monk fruit. And I think there was one coffee shop that I went to that had that choice, that they had that available, and that was shocking. But yeah, it's not a normal choice for people.
It's not, but Walmart doesn't carry it.
No, but
I think they're very particular where they put them, and I love that. I love that they're not like mass everywhere. It makes it all the more.
You
special
do have
tea.
to be careful what it's mixed with, because it's never 100% monk fruit. It's always there's always another ingredient in there. Either it's the first ingredient or it's the second ingredient. But so they mix it with xylitol, or they mix it with other stuff. So you just have to be careful what it's mixing and the percentage, because they will definitely have different tastes depending on the ratio of monk fruit. Although there was one that I did buy on Amazon that said 100% monk fruit, which I even questioned, because from what I read about monk fruit, it's very expensive to produce. So even a little bit is, so you should be spending a lot, in other words, if you're buying it. So I bought it, and it was the most horrendous tasting monk fruit I've ever had. I mean, I thought it was bad. Like, I actually thought it went bad. That's how bad it was. But there was one brand that I really liked, and I can't remember. I think it's called the Laughing Monker. And that was the one that I liked the best. So that's the one I need to order from. This is my last ditch effort to try. I was just ordering a bunch of stuff from Amazon, and I'm like, you love those same day deliveries from Amazon. I mean, like, let's talk about getting lazy. Like, we're at that point where we don't even want to wait the Prime one day. We're like, no, I want it the same day, So that's what I ordered, and I had ordered like green tea. I had ordered a bunch of stuff. So I'll try this one. We'll see how it works. And if it's no good, I'm going to go back to the other one. But good morning, Sharon Medley. Francia, good morning, Reina. We are happy to have you here. So wonderful. Sharon. So Sharon's my girl, Reverend Sharon. We have to have Reverend Sharon on as a guest. I met her at the fabulous Women's Business Summit that I was a part of this weekend. It was the one that we were supposed to go away for. We were supposed to be in Myrtle Beach for the weekend. And I kept saying over the whole weekend how much I hated the fact that we had to move it virtually, because I really could have used that weekend away. But Reverend Sharon is just spectacular. She is not your typical reverend. She is a badass reverend. She's a coach as well, and she's just absolutely spectacular. So it was really a pleasure to get to know the fabulous women that were at the summit, and who are now my lifelong friends. That's how spectacular it was. So very
Oh,
honored.
good. Welcome, Sharon.
Yeah.
Welcome. That's
All
awesome.
right. So we are talking today. So October is an interesting month, right? So October we ended Hispanic Heritage, which I know you love that word so much, which we didn't really have conversation on all that much, primarily because of your idea of that word. But we could celebrate Latinas. And why just a month? Let's celebrate, we're going to celebrate like every day, So, and we will throughout the rest of the year, especially December. We're going to actually focus a lot on Latina power, or even some Latinos could come too. But we're going to focus on power in December. But October is also breast awareness month. Okay, breast cancer awareness, breast health awareness, and also domestic violence awareness month. And so this week we're going to focus on those two subjects. Today we're going to focus on domestic violence, and on Thursday with Karen Sammer, our lovely Karen Sammer that's been a guest of ours before. We're going to be talking about breast cancer and breast health awareness. So before we get into our intention and all, Gladiator Guru, what's your experience with domestic violence? I know that you've been around it. Augusta Tu Corona has an element of domestic violence. And for those of you, again, augustatucorona.com. We will put it up there on the screen. Get your tickets. This is a fabulous women's empowerment event. Mm-hmm. Party with us, come hang out with us. We're trying to build our table. I don't think you're sitting with me, right? Don't you have to sit with the crown royalty, right? Because I need.
Of course. We're all queens on that day, though. I prefer to be the king of my castle. But yeah, we're all queens on that day. My relationship, my father used to beat the shit out of my mother all the time growing up. We have front row seats to that abuse. She shot him in the balls when she caught a woman on his lap. So it was a give and take type of domestic violence. He split her head open. that's what that was. So you either become a victim of it because you lived in it, or you become an advocate against it. So I was the latter. And you see domestic violence isn't just physical, though. It's emotional, it's
Yeah.
financial, it's spiritual. So, I think that the more we talk about it, we release that stigma of shame that the majority of the victims live in, thinking that that's the best they can do, or that nobody's going to believe them, or that, you know. So I think the more we speak on it, my two co-hosts from Ajusta tu Corona were domestic violence victims at a very young age, teenage moms, while so they're new moms, they're teenagers, and they're suffering domestic violence. So them, the whole Ajusta tu Corona program, it's very beneficial to put it out there, to enforce these women to realize their worth and their power, to take their power back, and all of that just lights that firecracker up our asses and let us know that we are our own superheroes. We are our Wonder Woman, and what happened to us was not our fault. So we shouldn't
Right.
carry it into this season of our life. But it happens all the time, and it starts off with little shoves, little words, and so we have to be aware of all those red flags. And I think that's the important part of speaking about it, is to know that there's so many different stages before it gets to the physicalness that we all have to be aware of. and
Yes.
and love, and that's not love, that's not care, that's bullying behavior, and we can't have a role in that. We have to stand firm in who we are, and if you can't, then form a tribe that will support you and have your back. Because many times I had to go kick doors down and be in the middle, and take out the person being abused, and that's not fun either. I mean, you do it because you have to do it, but it's also not fun, because they what is it, 8 out of 10 times they go back because they're unsure. Was it abuse? Was he? Well, maybe I said this. So that's what we do as women. That's what we do, is let them know. Never belittle. Just let them be aware that you're deserving of happier days and
Yes.
sweeter memories.
And it's also when you're around it too, you get so manipulated mentally and emotionally that you think that that is how they show their love. And I wasn't in domestic violence, the physical piece of it. And a lot of times I'll even separate that, but sometimes I have to remind myself that any type of mental emotional abuse is abuse, period. It doesn't, but when we tend to think of domestic violence, we do think of the more physical pieces of it. And I don't disagree. I think that's the top of the list, truly. But there is that mental and emotional manipulation and that's what I went through. Bullying, belittling, controlling, and feeling like the obsession, like I've been both of my my main relationships were like that. One worse than the other. And it was, my insecurities were, well, that's how he shows his affection, and oh, he must really like me or love me because he wants me home now, and he's
He's
and
worried.
you tell these things to yourself because you want that piece of it. You want that to believe that this is like, but that's not how people show their affection. That's not. And the funny part is that's not how I did it. Like, I was loving and beautiful as it was. And so why was I disconnecting from saying, well, I don't do that. I don't behave that way. Why is and I love this individual. Why is that person behaving? Why do I think that that's okay? Because when you're so insecure, and sometimes you don't start out that way. I've met plenty of women who, and they were tricked and they got into a physical abusive situation, and they were not individuals. You think of, quote, this idea of women who get caught up in domestic violence, they must be weak individuals. Not That's not true. It might be the case in some, might be that they grew up in it, and then they just patterns, traits, and what they've been brought up with. But I've known some real tough women who were literally manipulated they find those vulnerable points, they work at it, and then they flip it. And then all of a sudden, this woman went from this real strong powerhouse to this individual who was like brought down to her knees. And those to me are the most toxic types of abusers. Like that is, it's almost like it's a conquest for them, you know. So let's see, we'll see some of these things. So Sharon said, yes, we doubt ourselves, absolutely. Eileen, good morning, Eileen. Been there, takes a
Morning,
toll on
Eileen.
you. Yep. So yes, absolutely. So all right, let's set our intention and let's get our fabulous guest on. So I have the intention, you have the mantra today. Yes, Gladiator Guru?
Yes.
So the intention for today, I'm actually going to bring into the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And this is specific to ourselves. This prayer is meant to be outward, you know, to ourselves, to other people, but especially because we're talking about domestic violence, we need to love and honor ourselves and become stronger, badass bitches, right? So this is for us. The Ho'oponopono prayer is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And today we're going to intend it for ourselves. Okay.
That's
All right.
beautiful. Very beautiful. The mantra is something similar. I am brave. I am important. I matter. I am brave. I am important. I matter. That's what I say to myself whenever I want to give up on a project. Because when you want to give up on a project, why is it? Fear of success, self sabotaging, because you don't know what's the next step going to be. So I am brave. I am important. I matter.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
all
you,
I'm
Gladiator
saying.
Guru.
That's
All
all.
right. All right. So let's bring our beautiful guest on today.
Yes.
We've had her on before in a shared spot, which we love that she jumped on. But now she's gonna take control because this is gonna be her conversation. So we're gonna bring in the badass warrior Nicolette Walker Bowman. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How
Great to
beautiful
be
she looks.
here.
Show everybody your shirt because I have to buy this shirt. So this is just stand up a little bit. Go ahead. There we go. It's the tree and it's just spectacular. Woo, look at that. Look at those roots. Fabulous.
Yes.
So Nicolette, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone. And then you chose this subject. So talk about why this it means so much to you. So first introduce yourself and what you do.
So my name is Nicolette Walker Bowman, as you said, and I am the co-founder of Healthy Transformation Nation, where transforming lives from the inside out is of utmost importance to us. I do health and wellness, coaching, nutrition, and mindset as well, because that's a very important part of transforming from the inside out is the mindset piece of it. And I do have an amazing clubhouse room called Badass Affirmations that I do every morning, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Of course, my husband's running it now because I'm here with you, which is fantastic. So I get a little bit of a break, but it's really a place that is a safe place to come and talk about these affirmations, but not just discuss affirmations without, having the intention of applying them is kind of dead. They're just saying them over and over again. This is something we actually talk about and how it's applicable in our lives. And we've seen lives change in our room, and it's really, really powerful. So
Fabulous.
that's a little bit about what I do on the daily. And I absolutely love it because I love helping people. So yeah, I was loving what you were saying, Lori, about the domestic violence piece of it, that it's doesn't have to just be physical, right? It's a lot of it. It really starts a lot with the emotional, the verbal stuff that comes out and the manipulation and all of that stuff. So I totally understand and relate and absolutely 100% agree with that. When I was, oh gosh, how old was I? 20, right around there, 21. I met this guy and, thought he was great. And, he kind of reminded me of my dad with his hair and the eyes and all that stuff. And we just hung out a lot and spent a lot of time together. And, you know, you know how things go. You're hanging out all the time. You get a little playful, but then it gets a little pushy and a little shovey, and all this stuff was started happening. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening? Because I had a previous boyfriend for 3.5 years, and nothing like that ever happened. It was nothing like that. I've actually had very good relationships previous, only two, but the third. So I was fairly young. But yeah, it was just, I'm like, what's going on? And when you're in that, you're asking yourself what's going on, but you're still going with the flow of it. You're just still in it because you're in love and all of this stuff, which it really wasn't like the true in love stuff. It was more like an obsession because he had a very addictive personality,
Mhm.
and he's very charming. That's another part of the characteristic. He was very charming and, good looking, all that stuff. And I remember when we were like in stupid arguments, when you're young like that, you get into stupid arguments. And I was like, come on, I'm going to take you home. Let's go. Because we didn't live together at the time. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he, I'm like, come on, kind of like nudging him. I wasn't pushing or hitting him or anything. And literally from off of the couch in the laying down position, he came up and swept me across my face so hard. And I was just like that look. Absolutely just like, what? Like in total, absolute shock because I never saw it coming. Never saw it coming, never expected that would happen. And I remember just going, like holding my face, like, oh my God. And I said, that's it. You gotta go. Get out type thing. And I actually drove him back to his house, and I was like, that's the end of this. I'm done with this guy, blah, blah, blah. And I showed his father, I was talking to his father. He's like, oh yeah, you got a Mickey. That's what he called it. He's like, yeah,
Mm.
you're getting a Mickey there on the eye. And so like that was an indication that this is kind of commonplace in this household. This is something that he saw growing up with this guy, with his father doing this. That was what spoke to me. But of course, the apologies, I'm sorry, blah, 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 going on and on and on. And I was in this relationship. The interesting thing about this whole part of it is when it was only about a year and 2 months that we were together. And it felt like 5 years. It was so intense. And it was just so absorbing of my time and my life
And your
that
energy.
I just couldn't even like function almost in any other way, shape, or form because I wasn't working or anything like so. It was all encompassing my every move every single day. This is what I was dealing with was this individual. And that was my choice. I made that choice because I had the out. I could have gone out and I could have left, but I didn't. And I stayed in the relationship for, like I said, a year and 2 months. And in that time, yes, I was hit several times, but I got pregnant. And there was one, I mean, there's so much to it, but I want to give you the Reader's Digest version because it could go on for a really long time. And I know we only have so much time. So, but I remember I was pregnant and I was at his house. We're arguing. What else is new? And I hear like a knock and ring on the door. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'll be right back. I'm like, all right, whatever. And this is when cell phones weren't happening. This is the early 90s. That's how long ago this was. This is a long time ago. And so I hear talking and I recognize the voice. And it's this girl that I was friends with. And she's like, come on, Sally, you got to tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, what is going on? And he'd been cheating on me while I was pregnant with our child, with this girl who friended me just to get into bed with him because she had a crush on him. So that was really kind of like the thing that really shocked me, right? But it's not like the end of the story because I was at his house another time. arguing, not a big surprise. And I'm leaving, going out the garage door. And all of a sudden, he jumps on my back. I'm 5.5 months pregnant. When I was 5.5 months pregnant, I probably looked about 7.5 months. I was really big. He was 9 pounds, 11 ounces. I mean, he wasn't a little baby. I was boom. But anyway, he jumps on my back and I'm like, how could I carry this big belly? It was really kind of comical and sad at the same time, because this is ridiculous. This is stuff you see like in movies. I'm like, what is going on? And because he was trying to obviously stop me, and he takes me and he pushes me up against the car, and I went to raise my leg to get him away from me, and he kneed me in the stomach when I was 5.5 months pregnant with our child. And this is the stuff that happens. This is the real life. And I ended up getting a restraining order on him. Of course, he violated it. And it was at the 6.5, 7 month, well, let me think, more like 8 month period. I actually had a job. And I was working through it at McDonald's. I just did it just to do something, to get a little income where I was living, just to, have some normalcy in my life, some sort of schedule in my life. And I wasn't with him any longer. I was like, that's it. That's the end of it. Between the cheating and the kneeing, I'm done. I'm done with this stuff. I can't deal with it anymore. So I'm working the drive-through, and I hear my name being called at the window. And I look over, and it's him, my son's father, and the girl he cheated on me with. Hey, how you doing? I flipped, because this is my world now, right? This is my safe haven, my town that I'm working in, and you're showing up at my job. That was it, because I had been there for a couple of months and stuff. So he knew that I was there. To say the least, I asked people to walk me out to my car after my shift, because my shift was almost over too. So I was really scared, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they were waiting for me. I didn't know if he was going to come at me. I didn't know if he was going to hit me with the car. I didn't know, because everything was I was so in shock. How are you going to know what you're going to get? Between the hitting, the kneeing, the slapping, the pushing, the shoving, what's next? What's the next step? So I had someone walk to my car. I went home and I called the police, because I had the restraining order on him. And they said, well, where is he? And I said, I don't know. They're like, well, you got to find out where he is. And I said, well, he's probably in his hometown. They said, you have to call there. Now, keep in mind, I have the restraining order. I'm the one going through all this crap, and I have to do all the work. But okay, I'm going to do the work. So I called the police in Sudbury, and they said, well, where is he? I said, I'm not sure, but I think I might know where he is. So I called his friend. And his friend, sure enough, told me he was there. So I called the police back, and I told them where he was. And then I called him back, his friend. And then my ex got on the phone, and I kept talking to him, listening to his BS, just because I wanted to delay him. And sure enough, the cops showed up, and he was arrested on domestic violence restraining order violation. And he went to jail. And honestly, that was the first time in my pregnancy that I felt at peace. I felt like, thank God, I don't have to worry about something happening to my child at the hospital, and him finding out about it somehow and stuff like that. So that was the really relief I felt. And then I ended up getting into a cult years later. There's a reason why I'm mentioning this. So forgiveness was a huge thing, right? You got to forgive. And so I did. I forgave him. And then I ended up getting back with him. This is 3 years later. I ended up getting back with him because I was very nostalgic and very emotional, and, wanted the family. And I'm like, I've forgiven, I've moved on, blah, blah, blah. Well, it didn't really get physical, but it was verbally abusive stuff. And the thing that really capped it for me is my oldest son was 2.5 at the time. And we were into it, this argument, and we're in the bedroom. And my son is, looking up at us arguing. And my ex went like this to punch me in the face. And he looked down and he saw our son, and he stopped. My son saved my life that day. And that was the end of it permanently. He ended up calling me that in like January the next year. And I told him I was pregnant. I got pregnant again. I was on birth control both times, by the way. But I got pregnant again. And so I have a second son with him. And he's like, well, who's the father? Just the same abusive crap over and over again. And I'm like, you are. And it's interesting because he never met our youngest son until my youngest son like found him when he was 19. And he spent time with him, and he spent time with his aunt. And then after, several things transpiring, he realized that, Mom, I never needed anybody but you and Nana. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with that part of my life because that's not good for me, basically. So, I made decisions, and my son almost saw something that he never should ever see. And that was like the huge light for me, that I didn't want him to go through anything. And I did find out that he ended up abusing our oldest son, and he was with him one time alone, and he abused him in that time. And my son told me after he had left that he had abused him. So you never know who you're really with. I mean, really. I mean, I had a child with this person, and I spent, good time with this person, and I had no clue as to who he was at all. And who he is, I was told he supposedly died, but I don't really know. And it honestly doesn't really matter to me because I've moved on, like literally
Yeah.
moved on. Speak out
He
about
died for you a long time ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have nothing to do with them, and I don't ever look to like any financial help. I think there was like maybe $6,000 paid in the last 30 years, so I don't rely on that. I've been doing it on my own for a really long time, but the whole point about why I also wanted to come on here is because when you start investing in you and you start putting up the healthy boundaries and realizing how much you are worth and what you have to give in this world and what the world wants to give to you and that it's good, I actually am married to the most amazing man ever, who treats me with respect and love and honor, like adores me, would never lay hands on me, doesn't yell, none of that stuff. We don't even yell at each other. If we have a disagreement, we just have a disagreement. We talk about it and resolve it. And I want to give that hope that there are good people out there. And it's not just the women that are in domestic violence. Men are too. This is also for men that go through it, because I know men that have been through this as well. And it's kind of been, looked at that it's typically, women, but it's not. It's men too. I wanted to actually pull up something. Of course, my my iPad isn't being, kind to me right now. Yeah. So the nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the US. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million women and men. And 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and or intimate partner stalking, with impacts such as injury, fearfulness, post-traumatic stress disorder, use of victim services, contraction, sexually transmitted diseases. Now, I did get injury. I went through that fearfulness. I was fearful all the time, looking over my shoulder all the time. The PTSD, I definitely had that for a really long time. I don't have that anymore, thankfully, which is great. And I did use victim services, and it really did help. There was a woman, Jean Hurdle, in Framingham, who helped me. I was actually interviewed like anonymously at the time on newspaper and on TV. And that brought back some power to my life. I felt like I was in control instead of at the mercy of somebody constantly. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Some people don't feel comfortable with that, and that's totally understandable. Not everybody wants to have a face with this, but there's no need to be in silent suffering either. You can get help And the most important thing is just get out of the situation. I was in a shelter for domestic violence. And it was a family shelter. And that really was a saving grace for me. I was pregnant with our son when I lived in that shelter. And I have no regrets. And I'm very grateful that I had that kind of help and that assistance and that guidance as well, because I was so lost. I just didn't have guidance. I
And
didn't know what to do.
I want to point out something that Yeditza said, one of the tribe members, that you can also be abused by your children. When we think of domestic violence, we tend to think of spousal, or, whoever you're in the relationship with. But
Yeah.
absolutely, you can have adult children who abuse their parents for
Yeah,
various
I went
reasons.
through that. My oldest son, um, he had a lot of anger issues. I wonder why. At the time, and when he was 9 years old, he kicked me 3 times and sprayed red cleaner in my face and was arrested for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon on me and resisting arrest at 9 years old. And so I understand that very well. And it does not have to be a teen. And I thought to myself, if he's doing this at 9, what's it going to be like when he's bigger and stronger than me? And I did do what I needed to do. I put him in acute care, and he was in residential for a year and a half, and he never touched me again. And we have a great relationship. And he honestly said to me that if that was the best thing I ever did for him, because the thoughts that he was thinking at the time and the way he was behaving, not just in the home, but out, he said it would have been really, really detrimental to society had I not done that. And that takes a lot of strength as a parent to do that. And if that's what it takes, I mean, I was doing everything right. I was doing the counseling, every week, family counseling, individual counseling for me. The boys had their individual counseling, having the boys counseling. I was in counseling so much. It was like that. I was there 3 times a week at least. And then I voluntarily got DCF services in the home. I did that as well. And I did everything I possibly could to ensure that they got what they needed for services. But even in that, it still wasn't enough. And I am very grateful for the residential place that took my son and helped him so much, because he and I have the most amazing relationship. He's like one of my best friends. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And sometimes it takes a lot. It takes, I mean, he also went through stuff too. So I want to also put that out there. He went through some stuff too with his father abusing him. He went through that. That was real for him. It doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter. It's in there, it's in the memory, whether it's brought to the surface or not, it's there. I mean, he told me, so I knew. But that's really important, that if that's what it takes, you do whatever it takes to save your kid, even if it means something like to that degree. So I definitely understand that.
Glad I agree. You have anything? You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, because the dogs, anyone to
Yeah, I
bark.
have my
Love
dog
dogs.
barking too. My dogs are
My
barking.
sister has 3 Yorkies.
Oh,
They bark at it. They bark at you breathing. Um, no, it's so true. And the one who said about being abused by children, that's my cousin. So she has a phenomenal story on that too. But yes, when you honestly want best for your children and you love your children and want them on the right path, you know what? Life is both sorrow and joy. And if you try to evade the discipline, the boundary setting, the sorrow that will come with those decisions, then you're never going to be truly happy. And what are you doing as a parent to your child? So I commend you for doing that. That was bravery. That was courageous. Because as parents, we don't want to do that. But then that's
Enabling
love.
doesn't help. Right.
And love
Yeah.
isn't, it's people think that love is all these flowers and making sure your child has everything he wants and needs. And it's absolutely setting your child up for
Yeah.
destruction in the future. So that was touching. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I was blessed. I had good guidance because I was very open and very honest with the workers that I was working with, and I told them like everything that was going on. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't hide it. I was, very upfront about it. And they said, you've done all you can do at this point. I would call the police. And so I did. And it was really hard seeing my kid carried out in cuffs at the age of 9. I mean, come on. That's not that's you don't want to see that stuff. You don't want to go through that stuff, but I have no regrets.
It
I
was
did it.
either call the police on him at 9 or him be in
Yeah,
prison at 19.
Yes.
exactly. Or
Yep.
So,
earlier. I mean, even earlier, gosh,
yeah.
I mean, the way it was going. And I have no regrets. Everything I did right. And I have very, very much peace in my heart about it
Mhm.
because the one thing that we can do is easily beat ourselves up over all these decisions we've ever made, but you can't go back and change anything. You can only move forward and make better decisions for your life. And so when that relationship was over, I really knew what I wanted, and I knew what I didn't want, but I really knew what I wanted. And I actually have that. And that's the hope, not every person that you meet is an abuser. Not every person is gonna like treat you like crap. It's really just holding to certain standards and loving yourself first and putting yourself first, get that oxygen mask on you, right? And taking care of yourself. And then you'll end up attracting the right type of person if you even want to be in a relationship. I mean, it's not like we have to, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to, there are good people out there. It's not,
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
Gladiator Guru. Go ahead.
They are, but they start with you because you know what? We attract a certain type, and it's the
Yep.
same
got it.
demon with different color eyes, different color
Yes.
hair. So
That's
you
correct.
have to, but because healing starts from within, and people just
Mhm.
want to have somebody complete them. No, you must complete yourself. You must do the work first, and then because then that lowers the expectations of what you want that other person to complete for you, and the assumptions start to dwindle down because so many people don't do the inner work, want to meet somebody to complete them. Then the expectations are so high,
Yeah.
and then the assumption that, oh, you should know me. And then what happens? It's a failed relationship that might make that person turn into the abuser because they're doing everything on the outside. I've met people like that as well.
Yeah.
So it all starts from within. It's all about feeding your spirit, getting to know who you are. What the hell is your favorite color? Damn it. Let's start from that.
Purple.
Why don't you like pistachio or this? Because everything has a trigger. Everything comes with a memory. Everything, people who doubt themselves, oh, I don't like that, but they've never tasted it because they're unsure of it. All of that plays a big role with your big decisions. So let's go to the little things.
Right.
Why not this? Why this? You haven't tried it? What do you think it'll taste like? That's how I do my sacred healing with people to get them to know themselves with the little things. Because if you can't
Mhm.
tell me what's your favorite color or why is your favorite color or why don't you like Mediterranean mint gelato, which is my favorite, then how the hell are you going to tell me what type of man you want?
Right.
What type of
And
relationship you want. Do you want this? Do you want to have great communication? Well, then do you have good comprehension skills? Because
mhm.
it's all a balance.
But I think also society though plays a huge role in this because we so for those that are at that level where you've been abused mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, and you get out of the relationship, there's this idea that until you work on yourself, so sometimes you don't realize this, but you have to do the work, just like you both are saying. But there's this idea because it's perpetuated in society that this individual, this beautiful, wonderful individual is going to come along and they're going to rescue you and they're going to be the perfect person for you because you see this in a lot of movies where this woman tells her story and she's like I was in an abusive relationship and then this guy comes in and he's like you don't have to be afraid anymore and it plays onto that piece where we're like oh
Mhm.
I want to find that person but there's more than not. I'm not saying that they don't exist. It's just that more times than not, it's that the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's these abusers are good at what they do, and they are able to find these individuals who are really not 100% healed yet, or
And-
not themselves.
And
And they will find them, and they will give them what they need. It's like they feed that piece that you need, and then they whoop, pull the rug out from you, and they get you. And that's what they do. And until you are fully healed, you can't, you're going to go from you're going to live your life according to a lack mindset. So you're going to be very fearful, and you're going to be afraid to let yourself go. And then, you're going to exude that energy, and you're going to attract those people until you take the time and work on yourself. I've seen women, not saying men don't do this, but we're speaking mostly to the tribe with women, that they go from one relationship to another, and it might not be an abusive relationship, just wasn't a good relationship or toxic, but they move to another relationship because they cannot be by themselves for longer than 2, 3, 4 weeks, and they're on to the next relationship, and they're so excited about it, and they don't get to know themselves. And Gladiator Guru, you're like said, what's your favorite color? And that's the truth. It's like sometimes that was me for a long time. Like when my kid would ask me, Mommy, what's your favorite color? I'm like, I don't know. Like, how do I not know what the hell my favorite color is? Because I was so out of touch with who I was, and that's what that's the piece you have to work on.
Yeah,
It's
that's
funny.
what
It's
I'm
so good.
sorry, Nicolette, but it's like to go on what Badass said, because society, it's like the devil tempting you to do whatever, but it all goes back to being your own super fucking hero.
That's
You
right.
can be your own super fucking hero.
Yes.
You're feeding your spirit, and you're nurturing your ego to the point where no means no means no. And so society can play, or society tells me I should be 128 pounds. Fuck you. That's not happening with my Italian and Puerto Rican self. So I can be 150 pounds and be just as happy.
Yes.
They're telling me I need anti-wrinkle thing. I use coconut oil. You know what? Everybody has to believe that they can make the decisions in their life. And Big Girl Panties says that we don't even think about the man. We just go looking for love. Absolutely. I've seen a lot of people with that. I was often accused of being anti-man. I love men. Ooh, do I love men, right? But yes, a lot of people do that. And you know what? Observe society, observe everything, and then observe yourself, and then fill in the empty spaces within. Because only you can do that. You can pay all this money for life coaches and therapists and all this, go into all these seminars, but until you're ready to know who the hell you are and who you're supposed to be,
we won't hear it.
the skin you're at, nothing. You're going to be wasting money. And if you want to waste money, then go right ahead, but don't complain that nobody's there for you. And you know what? I'm sorry. That's the kind of, that's how I do it. But you know what? Life is short. There's life, there's death. So what's in between? If it has to be love, then let it be self-love. And there's enough people that will teach that. And that's my message for these women today, especially this month, Cancer Month, Domestic Violence Month. Just, you know what? Seek that universal God-given love from within. Know who you are. Have some, sometimes because we've been so playing this facade, living in this facade, we don't really know what we like. We don't have that taste. Our palate doesn't get all those orgasmic sensations when you're eating something that you truly love. So you know what? Venture out. Every week, try something different. Touch that palette. Put on different. I'm always dressed in black. But my mind is vibrant. My art is vibrant. My house is beautiful, bright, white, all of that. So find out what it is you like and then live it. Live in your truth, and anything anybody says or does to you, it's just like if you covered yourself in Vaseline and that shit is just slipping the hell right off you.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you matter. And then you give out kindness and you be grateful for the people around you, and you can smile and you can hug and you can give and you can be of service. Why? Because you know who you are and your foundation is solid.
Yes. And the energy, but listen, okay, could you feel the energy that Gladiator Guru was was putting off just with that conversation, with which the words that, you were hearing the words that were coming out of her, but it was the energy behind the words, because that energy, when you put that energy out there like that, you don't attract the bullshit. Like those people, it's almost like a repellent. They may try, but you also have such clarity that you see through their bullshit. And so you don't have to be afraid, oh, maybe I'm going to attract the wrong person again. You won't, because they might try to come in, or most of the time they don't even bother, because they're like, oh, I'm not gonna touch that. And the
I know I
beauty
don't
is
even
that,
get hit on anymore. I'm like, what kind of energy am I putting out there? I've been
oh no,
a
you'll get that.
widow for 4.5 years and celibate for 2. Somebody hit on
You'll
me.
get there. Don't
No
worry.
help, just lust.
You'll get there. But and the other thing too is that you're not alone. You will find the tribe of women who support you, that will be there and say, listen, we don't even have to focus on that situation. We're just going to focus on being us. So that, again, that energy that you put out brings the tribe that you need to be around right next to you. It puts it there. The universe will put it right there for you, and you have to trust in that process. The beauty of it is that there is so much out there. There is so much support out there. You have to, there is that little leap of faith that you have to take. Sometimes it's not a little leap, it's a big one. And you have to be vulnerable. And that's the part that's scary. Nicolette, you said, you're in a shelter. It's scary to do that. It's scary to walk away from your home, especially if you're the one who created that home, that maybe your name is still on that, or it is the other person's name, but you made it a home. And you're like, why am I having to go when this is the person, this asshole was the one that was bad? Why am I leaving? Because that's what has to happen. You have to go. And then you think, oh my God, what are people going to think? I'm in a shelter. I shouldn't be here. But we should on ourselves. We have to get rid of that. And we as women have to support these women who are brave enough to do that. Brave enough to say, I see the path, the future of my child. So I'm going to call the police and have him taken away, and hope that he sees it, so that he won't hate me for the rest of my life. But if that's the path that he has to take, then that's the path that he has to take.
And that's courageous.
Absolutely.
You're an
Absolutely.
unapologetically courageous woman in my book.
Absolutely.
The shelter, the getting a job at 7 months pregnant. I worked 2 jobs, both of my pregnancies, till I was 9 months. So I honor that when someone says that. And then, but you had a duffel bag of fear. Fear of your safety, fear of your baby, your surroundings, and you still went to work. So, yes, I love it. And just like Chanel said, she feels like she was watching a movie listening to your story. So that right there. And my cousin Iris, just speaking to her, she said she also had her son arrested, but she felt guilty for many years, but she no longer feels that way. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Our greatest asset in this world is ourselves. We are the greatest asset. And the greatest asset that the perpetrator has on us is fear. That's what they use the most, is fear. And I'm telling you, don't give anyone the power ever. You are worth more. Time is so little. Make the most of every moment that you have and invest in yourself, is what I can tell you. I appreciate the time here. Thank you so much.
No, even my son-in-law. Look at my son-in-law was watching, and he says he loves this topic. And big girl panties, did you write down a list of everything you want in a man? Absolutely. And I had it. And then he got ALS and he died.
Oh,
so, but you know what? I'm still alive. I'm still kicking, and I'm magically orgasmic. So yes, I still have my list. Ha!
You're an ass.
Yes, listen, your vulnerability that's what they use against you. And but when you decide that your vulnerability is a strength, like that's not a weakness. If they say, oh, you're this and you would be nothing without me, and say, I managed to survive all these years without you.
How did I do it?
That's so right. So how did I do that if I wasn't with you? But And if you say you're nothing, say, no, you know what? I'm not nothing. Or if you say I am something, but whatever, just whatever your vulnerability, and they pull it out on you, you just own it. So yeah, that is me,
Yes.
but I'm working through that. And what else do you have? And I've learned that going through my change, my transformation, is that the minute I started to step up, and when somebody would say to me, oh, well, you're this and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, yeah, and yep, you're right. That's what I'm working on. And it all of a sudden, they didn't have any fuel for their fire anymore. And they get bored. They get bored when they realize they can't touch you anymore. They can't get to you anymore. They will eventually move on to somebody. Now, there are the nutsos out there that will not let it go, because that's when you have to reach out for help. You have to call the police. You have to get the restraining orders. You have to have all of that in place. And, Connecticut was one of the biggest changes in domestic violence laws came out of the story with, what was her name? It was, in Torrington.
Mm-hmm.
It was Thurman, Charles Buck Thurman, that was the guy that beat the crap out of his wife right in front of the police, the neighbors. And they didn't do, you got to see it. It's a movie about it. Hard to watch.
And it's factual. But I wanted to say before we leave that, Nicolette's story is Nicolette's story. My story is my story, and Badass Buddha, because going back to society, people give up because they feel they haven't progressed as they should have. But all I want to tell you women out there is that everybody has a season of growth. Everybody has a season when you're training, because nothing's a mistake. It's all training. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we get wounded, we hurt, but let's not put band-aids on those wounds. Let them heal as they should. And just because I went through this, my lane was here, doesn't mean you have to be side by side, or I have to be ahead of you. Maybe I'm supposed to be behind you. The message is that you've taken away from your detour and you're back on your lane. You're back on the path that you're supposed to be going. And healing is a tricky little fucker. And there's no competition as to who. Oh, I'm behind. I'm not working. Just do it. Start where you are at today, right now. Just start.
Yeah.
Start
Absolutely.
Comforting yourself. Start reminding yourself that you carried yourself away from all that bullshit. You said no mas, like Iris just said. And then you start from where you're at. Listen to women, join women, but don't compare yourself to women. Don't let society tell you that you're getting what you deserve because you didn't make a change 10 years ago. Start where you're at right now, and let's go toward, let's live that purpose and build that legacy.
Yep.
Absolutely. And yes, the girl panties, I got a new list.
That was, what you said, a good point, Gladiator Guru, as we're closing out here. That's the worst thing, when somebody turns around and supposedly your friend's family says, oh, you should have left him a long time ago.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like
it's my walk, not yours.
Exactly.
What does that mean? That's not helpful. Just be like, listen, we're glad you finally got there. Like that's the support. So thank you, Gladiator Guru. That was perfect. And Nicolette, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
We really greatly appreciate it.
I think a lot of us want your shirt, so you might as well tell us we're on Amazon. You got it? Because my cousin Chanel Real Deal was saying she loves it. So, and I'll dress up like you, girl. And maybe in the next show, you're going to see me wearing that shirt. And I love my boobs, so I'll stand up a lot of times. Show my shirt.
This thing? That's what Gladiator Girl be like. This thing?
Oh my God. That's so funny. I don't remember. I think it was Amazon that I actually got like 3 of them. So I think it was Amazon, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm going to check it. I'm going to check
I'll check it
with the roots. You know what they say that you can't reach up to heaven with one hand unless the other one is digging deep into the earth. Yeah. So that phrase, I think it was Jung that said it, Carl Jung. And again, my son-in-law, I don't believe you. But yeah, so that's what that shirt reminds me of. We can't reach up. We can't be successful unless we've walked the path that shows us, that made us want to be successful.
Right.
You know,
Right.
not that we wasn't, but that made us want. Everything has to have there's a yes and a no, and none of them are bad. So let's remember that. So yes, we're all getting your shirt. I know I am. We're gonna hunt that shirt down, girl.
So thanks,
I got it last
everybody.
year, so I don't know if it's still available, but I'll look it up
We'll
for
check it
you.
out.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nicolette Walker Bowman, for coming on today. And we also want to
Thank
thank
you,
a lot of our new tribe members. Big Curl Panties on. That's Carol. She was the actual host of the events for this past weekend, the Women's Business Summit. So glad that Carol was on. Carol's awesome, people. I've known Carol's. I went to chiropractic school with Carol, so
Wow.
and we reconnected. We hadn't spoken to each other in a while, so everything happens for a reason. So thank you, all of you
Great.
new powerful women that have come on and share. We love for you to share this information and subscribe and share the channel and the stories, because they're all powerful and we need to hear them and we need to be here for each other. So
Yes.
Absolutely.
Gladiator Guru, any last minute
No.
thing before we go?
Thank you. I'm going to thank you for all of us as well. My cousin Irish, look, thank you, Nicolette. God bless. Yes, thank you. I think that sometimes we the badass Buddha, this is a topic close to heart for us, and we spoke on it before. And sometimes we repeat it because the different energies that come on with us, they add, or they explain differently, and there's different people. Like I said, there's a reason for every season that has to do with lifetime decisions.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Arlene. Good morning. And no, that's it. It was phenomenal. We look forward to more shows together.
Thank
All
you
right. So, and another one, thank you so much for the show from Tiffany Bryan. So great. All right. So tune in on Thursday. We're going to be talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we're going to take an interesting little different take on this with our guest Karen Samra. So stay tuned for that. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. Who, by the way, if you remember, Karen is also a breast cancer survivor. So
You
anyway.
too.
And you too. Fabulous.
Yes. That's awesome.
So,
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you so much for Nicolette and our guest coming on today, and all of you out there. We love you. We wouldn't do this without you. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, I want to remind you, October 29, Masquerade Gala, Unmasking Your Comfort Zone. Come to the Women Empowerment Movement, ajustatucorona.com/events. Buy your tickets, and let's all be powerful together. And remember, breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.